So the other three are about 16 to 17 years old. The greedy here is about 50 years old. 50. So he's a big guy. Hello, greedy. In the wild, they tend to live anywhere between 35 to 50 years old. In captivity, anywhere between 60 to 70 years old. Some of them have gone into their 80s and beyond. Oh, I forgot to mention my beautiful, lovely security guard. That is Felipe. He's just trying to make sure everything's going smoothly here. Thank you so much, Felipe. Alright. So also, it's pretty hot. It's only going to get hotter here in South Florida. But that's why these guys are in the water. They've been in the water basically all week. So they're most likely going to be staying in the water. But I'm going to do my best to get as much action as possible from these guys for you. Alright. Let's see. Hello, mister. So they have one of the strongest bite forces in the animal kingdom. I'm talking about 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of closing pressure per square inch. That's not yours. Well enough to crush through a shell of a turtle. That's a small sample of that bite force. They use it to be able to crush through a bone as well. So like I mentioned, turtles are part of their diets as well as fish, birds, small mammals, people with cameras. Just kidding. Us humans are not part of a alligator's natural diet. There have been accidents that have occurred in the past between humans and alligators. If you research these accidents, the majority of the times, it has been because that wild alligator that was involved had been provoked by a human at one point or another during their lives. What I mean by that is that somebody fed that wild alligator. So see, here's the thing. Wild alligators have a natural fear of humans. They don't want anything to do with us. Very similar to how deer do. You know, sometimes deer see us, they run away. The same kind of thing with them. Sometimes they see us, they go into the water. But a lot of the time this changes when they are often around humans or when somebody feeds an alligator. Once you feed that alligator, they lose that natural fear that they would have otherwise, and they associate humans and food together. And that's why it is illegal in the state of Florida to feed gators in the wild. We want to make sure that they would keep that natural fear that they would have otherwise. Well, I say that, but I'm in here and I'm feeding them some raw chicken. Hear me out. The difference between the gators in here and the ones out there is that these guys are captive alligators. They were born and raised in captivity, so by the law, they must remain in captivity for the rest of their lives. And it goes back to those same reasons. Okay, let's talk about their anatomy. Look at Greedy's pretty smile. How about you, Rocky? Let's see that smile, buddy. No? No? You don't want more chicken? Alright, Greedy has a pretty smile. How about a little round of applause for Greedy's smile? He says, thank you, an alligator. So in that smile, they've got about 80 teeth, 40 on the top jaw and 40 on the bottom. They could actually go through about 3,000 teeth within their entire lifespan. So once one falls out, another one is growing right back in because their teeth are pretty hollow. Right over here, boop, at the very tip top, they have their nostrils, which they can open and close. So whenever they go under the water, they can close those nostrils. They typically hold their breath 20 minutes on end, sometimes a few hours on end. The maximum record has been 24 hours, which we don't see it as often as in very extreme and cold conditions, such as like frozen waters, but it comes to show how resilient these creatures are. Okay, at the very tippy top, you notice that they have their eyeballs. They sit at the top of their head and they look like they are very vulnerable. They look easy to poke out. But what you may not know is that they have a little defense mechanism. They have a trick up their sleeve where they have the ability to sink their eyeballs into their skull. So me and Mr. Greedy are going to show you a lovely magic trick with my assistant. So if you look at his eyes, now you see them and they all of a sudden disappear.